What's up, guys? It's Chris Mackey here again with Blue Collar Marketing, here for another episode of Tech in 30. Super pumped up about this episode. I got my main man here, Fyfe, who is an executive coach across a wide ranges of trades and different blue collar industries, man. When you talk about Tech in 30 and what we do here is it's very much on the technical side, man. But the biggest technical thing that you have is going to be in your noggin, man. Very excited to chat with him. Does a lot of coaching for mental fitness and really getting business owners out of the muck when it comes to their business. So without further ado, Fyfe, super excited to have you on, man. Would love for you just to do a little intro on yourself and kind of get this rolling.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and excited to share a little bit about what mental fitness is and how I've been working with clients. I come from a trades home services background. So I ran a painting business back in the day. I had an HVAC cleaning business that I ran for 7 years with a business partner in a different city. So definitely like had my toes in this world. But at the same time, my other love has always been true like non-directional executive coaching, leveling people up, helping them get out of their own way. So it's kind of a blend of these two things that I've spent a lot of time on, and love sharing that because it's when you see people unlock what they're capable of, like things just start to go way faster and they have a lot more fun doing it at the same time.
Awesome, man. 100%, man. So when we talk about like the coaching aspect, before we even get in terms of like what you're doing now here, Fyfe, I kind of want to go on like the background of you right now because I've talked to coaches, I've talked to consultants before. It's super refreshing when we get someone who's actually like worked within like a blue collar industry, specifically like home services, what you've done there. So can you kind of talk a little bit about the business that you were running there before? Like I know now you're super certified. You're a certified professional coactive coach. You have your associate certified coach. You're a certified mental fitness coach. But not only that, man, you've owned 4 different small businesses as well as, selling a successful small home service business, man. So let's talk about like that journey, man, and then what kind of shown that importance of like the importance of like mental fitness and like having like a strong mindset the whole time.
Yeah. Where do you want me to start? Want to start with the painting or what?
Yeah, let's talk about like the home service side, man. Yeah, whatever you think, like as like a
Yeah.
background to you, man, big time.
So I mean, I won't spend too much time on the painting, but that was my entry point into entrepreneurship. Was I ran a
Cool.
painting business. I did a college pro franchise for 3 summers for all of you college pro
Nice.
alumni out there. And that was kind of like the doorway for me to be like, oh, I could run a business. It's hard and challenging, but I have a lot of control and autonomy and freedom and really enjoyed that. Some of my best friends are still through that network. And but knew I didn't want to paint forever.
Yep.
I ran that for a couple of years and decided that, yeah, I needed to do something different. And my dad was actually an executive coach. He was retiring. He was head of HR for a large company and was getting into executive coaching. And he was the one that put me onto coaching. He's like, I think you might really enjoy this and you have a
Cool.
kind of natural aptitude for this kind of work. So that I tried the first module, and for me, it felt like I was coming home. I was like, wow,
Nice.
this is cool. This feels right. How do I do this for a living? And that just put me on a journey. It was probably 5 to 8 years of doing more training, going through some certifications, doing some part-time coaching on the side. And through that time, started this other franchise, an HVAC cleaning franchise with a business partner I met through painting. And the goal was always to have a general manager in place running the business without us in the day-to-day.
Nice.
And we achieved that, made a lot of mistakes along the way. Had a couple different managers throughout that time, made a lot of mistakes and a lot of learning in terms of how to run a company when you're not in that city, and accountability and visibility and making sure things are going the way they should. But ultimately, yeah, decided that didn't want to do that anymore. But in between selling and starting that business, I was introduced to mental fitness. And that was a huge additional tool in my toolkit as a coach and just personally, because I had the opportunity to go through this programming when I was in a state of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost said no. It was a grant for coaches to go through the initial training. And I almost said no to it because I was burnt out and just like at capacity. But I was like, oh, maybe it'll help. And sure enough, it actually helped me mitigate some of the burnout I was feeling, get out of that state without actually taking a bunch of time off. I was like, wow, this is really cool. This has been really a great tool for me. And then on the back end of that, they're like, hey, do you want to get certified in this? It's like, absolutely.
Cool.
Like, this has been impactful. I think there's a lot of benefit especially for business owners. You can't take time off. You need something else to help you get through the challenging times. And I hadn't experienced anything like that before. So that was my doorway into mental fitness. And then I've kind of just blended all these three things over the last kind of 2 to 3 years. And I've just gotten a lot more focused on applying the mental fitness and the coaching to trades and business owners.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I find too, man, it's like something that almost gets put on the back burner for like a lot of business owners too as well, you know? I think it's easy to take for granted your own mental health and your own well-being because like we're in a very big culture of grinding and you want to grind as a business owner. Like that's something you got to do, but you got to make sure that you're at the, you know, best capacity mentally to be able to handle kind of life's problems there. So I think that's like wicked for you to kind of go through that self-discovery and figure that out on that side. So when we look at like the coaching side there, Fyfe, and we look at the mental fitness side, like for people watching and listening here, like like what is the coaching aspect? Like how do you help people on that end? And like what is mental fitness? From what I've read and I've seen about you, and I know you'll give me a much better explanation, it's like really going at, you know, the business with like a positive mindset and like positive reinforcements. Because, you know, if you're a business owner, you're going to have problems. Like it's never going to be completely sunshine and rainbows the whole time, but you got to make sure that you kind of have a very tough and strong brain. And through some of the things I imagine you teach and the exercises that you do, I imagine it's to improve that and to make sure that guys and girls are tough in their mindset to be able to kind of go at all of the business challenges there, man. So wrapping that up, man, like in terms of like a question for you, man, like what is like the coaching side to start there? And then how does like mental fitness all come together with the whole thing?
Yeah. So I normally, when I first start working with a client, we will do some initial goal setting and strategy to make sure we're clear on where they're going, what are the outcomes. So part of that might be doing some strategic planning, nailing down their annual priorities, their quarterly priorities, having a really clear plan for the business, but also for them personally. What are your personal goals? Because if the oxygen mask is not on you as a business owner, you're not sustainable. You're not going to be able to keep up to the speed and the growth that you probably want in your business, which a lot of owners are in burnout. Their health is suffering, all those types of things. So it's like, let's get the oxygen mask on you and a clear plan in the business. And then from there, once some of that stuff's mapped out and we have a clear vision, which for a lot of people is a big hurdle, is not having clarity on actually what they want. You'd be surprised at how many people struggle with the question, what do you want? And they kind of like fumble over their words. And then from there, I usually push them into the mental fitness programming, which is about 8 weeks, because that gives us a really strong foundation to have a common language, to get unstuck, to move things forward faster, to not be procrastinating or perfectionism, things like that. And I can get a little bit more into like what mental fitness is and how that works. And then we kind of move back into executive coaching, which a lot of it is around clarity on priorities, current roadblocks or stuckness. And that might be a technical challenge in the business, but oftentimes it's like a mental hurdle where I see a lot of people in the size business that I'm working in, like they have a tough time delegating and they have a hard time letting go. Like they're the guy, they're really good at their trade or their skill. And the act of letting go of control and letting other people make mistakes in the business so they can learn is really hard for them to do, which keeps them as this bottleneck in the business. So there's the technical side of how do you delegate, and Google, ChatGPT, they can tell you the steps. And a lot of clients, deep down, they know what they need to be doing, but they're not doing it. And that's where I come in, is like, let's get you unstuck so you understand why you're getting in your own way and get you out of your own way. And that comes through like consistent accountability, a lot of non-directional probing questions, getting them unstuck, bringing a lot of clarity, so that they're able to make a lot more progress faster.
100%.
As it relates to mental fitness, the best analogy is physical fitness. Like if I was to ask you today, hey Chris, we're going to run a marathon tomorrow.
That'd be a tough ask, man. Big time tough
It'd
ask.
be like,
100%. Yes, sir.
maybe we could like finish it, but we'd probably be crippled for a couple months after. And in a lot of ways, that's what business feels like. You're constantly being met with these huge demands on your attention and things that provide stress, but we haven't done any training to mitigate that and be able to manage that better proactively.
Nice.
And same with that physical fitness analogy. Like if you've been training for a marathon, not so bad. And we know how to proactively train for physical challenges, but we don't necessarily do that mentally. So a lot of the time people hit mental health like extremes, and then they just can't work. Like they hit this rock bottom. So what I kind of see mental fitness as is a more proactive way to manage stress, to be a better leader, to cultivate your capacity to be in a positive mindset despite the challenges that you're facing. Awesome. And you're able to move through those stressful challenges, make wiser decisions because you're not hijacked in that stressful saboteur state is what we call it. You're self-sabotaging negative thought patterns. And you kind of learn to build that capacity not to be hijacked, or if you do get kind of hijacked by that stressful thing in the business or a client or whatever it is, that you can shift out of that a lot faster, so you're making better decisions. You're not getting stuck in, like, we've all had it where tough client and you're rattled for a day or maybe multiple days and your week goes to shit. How do we bounce back from that? So instead of spending 3 days in that state, maybe it's like 30 minutes, and you can build that capacity over time.
Cool, man. And I feel like it's a problem that I feel like almost every single business owner has, regardless, even if they're in home service, construction, trades, regardless, man. Like that's something that, especially like that rat wheel or the rat race of just being stuck in the business and not working on the business. Like that thing you said at the beginning there too, in terms of like delegation. Like when we started, that was a very difficult thing in both sides. Like when Wes and I even ran the property maintenance business, like that was a very difficult thing for us to be able to like delegate ourselves out, because there's an aspect of trust. And if you haven't done it before, it's a very difficult thing to kind of like jump into. When you work with guys and work with girls here in terms of like delegating and getting better at delegation, is there any like what are some of the steps that make it better, like get you to that path of delegation? Because as you said, man, I feel like a lot of it is just, it's not impossible. It's just like a mental block. It's like getting over that trust factor in terms of, okay, I can trust someone to do this job. And the benefits of that, as soon as you pull yourself out of that cycle, I bet for a lot of your clients are like, man, I should have done this ages ago, So what are some of those, like if someone's like stuck in that process? Because a lot of the phone calls we get, big thing is like, I want to be working on the business and not on the tools. Like I want to stop being just on the tools and I want to work on the business here, So for them, it's really just them stopping themselves from doing that. Yes, they need a couple more guys, or they already have the team to do it. Like, what does that look like? What are like steps to, get better at that delegation process?
Yeah. So there's two sides of this. One is the more kind of technical strategic side. So like, do you have the cash flow? Like, do you have the systems set up in the business that you can afford it? And there's the act of like hiring. Some people get really hung up on hiring and how do you vet people properly. So there's like different stages to this problem. And I think a lot of it is honing in on where is that key stuck point for that owner right now, because it might be in the hiring stage. They don't know how to hire or vet people properly. For some people, it might be the training stage. They haven't learned how to properly offload new tasks to somebody for them to be successful. A lot of people don't delegate, they dump. They're just like, here, go do it. And you need a process to train somebody. So a lot of what I see is like, do you have standard operating procedures and onboarding and training systems?
Yeah.
with AI and the stage of things now, it's so easy to build that stuff quickly.
100%.
But do you have that process for training and bringing somebody up to speed? Really simple things are, you show them how to do it, then you watch them do it, and then you kind of go back and forth. But like, do you actually walk them through that and coach them through it? And I think there's an aspect of helping business owners shift from being the guy that's doing it to a trainer, to a coach, and then to like a manager or a leader. And there's these different phases that they go through, and in each phase there's what people don't talk about is the identity wrapped up in each phase. If you're really, really skilled at that thing, your identity is attached to being great at that thing. And when you let go of that, a lot of guys are fearful of, I'm not the guy anymore. Or like, who am I if I'm not this? So there's that connected to it. But there's also the fear that's associated with letting somebody else do it and the mistakes they might make. And I think for a lot of business owners, they've been burned. They've hired somebody, for whatever reason, that person made a big mistake. And then now there's a lot of fear around making those same mistakes where they bring somebody on, they make mistakes, the client's unhappy, and it causes more headaches for the owner down the road. So there's a lot wrapped up in how to delegate. And usually there's some kind of little piece in there that I'll hone in on with somebody to unlock that next step. Sometimes it's a technical thing. Oftentimes there's like a little mental roadblock of how to let go. And it is a process. It's not like I coach you in one session and you magically are like, now I can delegate forever. It's a process of how do you let go of control? How do you let your team make smaller and then larger mistakes for them to grow that aren't a huge risk to your business? And ultimately, how do you get to a point where you're delegating things to a key person where they're training and skilling up the team, and then coaching them through how to let go of the things so that that person can grow in their role. So it's like multi-layered with all of this. And I'm sure we could talk like for a whole session on it, but hopefully that gives like a bit of a snapshot.
No, absolutely, man. And I think like I can only imagine like how many people come into your business, man, and like have that very, very problem, like when you look at that and you tell me these things here, I can just see how it relates back to the mental fitness side in terms of like not wanting to make a mistake with the delegation. And it's not only just that portion, is like, how do I deal with when there is a mistake in the delegation process? And that's where I find like the mental fitness probably is a huge key in that thing. Because again, you're never going to have a perfect process. You can have, great guidance, great consulting, but that's just the nature of business is mistakes happen. And, where I find like, from what I'm hearing is like where you really come into is like, how do we deal with things like when this happens in terms of that side? So when it comes to the mental fitness too part, man, like how does that exactly, you gave me a great synopsis on the whole thing on that side, but like, how does it like specifically work with you on that end? Like I looked through your website and you're talking about like the daily practice, the weekly focus, the ongoing support. Like if I am a new coming business owner, not even new coming, but just new coming to you, like what does it look like to really like improve my mental fitness?
Yeah. So there's a couple components to it. One is some of the learning and education around it. So what are the different components of mental fitness? At a really high level, there's how we self-sabotage. So increasing our awareness of how we're self-sabotaging and when we fall into those states of being hijacked or under stress. There is the flip side of that, which is SAGE, kind of a funny term. But if you think of these two, it's like Darth Vader versus the Jedis.
Okay, bet. Yeah, cool.
Darth Vader, he's negative. He responds through violence and negativity and negative mental patterns. The Jedi is very focused, yet they're calm. They're this kind of peaceful warrior. And both of those modes we have access to in our brains. And how do we cultivate our ability to spend more time in that Jedi sage state? So there's education around what are those states, how do you tap into them, how does the brain work, and then how do you start to learn how to shift from one to the other? And that's that self-command muscle. So there's those kind of three key focuses in mental fitness. And in terms of like what it actually looks like day to day, there's a weekly module where you're learning a new concept for that week.
Cool.
I will debrief with a client, whether it's a small group or one-on-one. And then throughout the week, and this is the key part that differentiates from lots of other leadership development or training, is you are actively focused on building the mental muscle on a daily basis using an app that drives your progress like
Cool.
you would going to the gym daily.
Awesome.
And that kind of starts to build these new neural wirings, if you will. And they've shown in research that after about 6 to 8 weeks, using fMRI scans, they can actually see changes in the gray matter in your brain for those different parts lighting up as you kind of like
Cool.
work on this more and more.
Sweet, man.
And then that repeats for 8 weeks. And then ideally it becomes a lifelong practice that you just do this ongoing forever, because you never achieve full mastery. It's just leveling up. And you just get faster and faster at noticing when you're self-sabotaging or judging yourself or in that negative state, and being able to shift out of it and move forward in a more like ease focused way.
Cool, man. And then in terms of that too, Fyfe, like, business owners are obviously busy, especially trades guys, man. They're doing a million different things. Like, it seems like you have a really good system in terms of like their allocation of time to be focusing on this. You're talking about like 8 weeks in terms of really getting the foundations and the habits in place. Like, what does a daily commitment look like on something like this for like practicing mental fitness? Like, are we doing this for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours? Like, what does that kind of like daily commitment look like?
It's about 15 minutes a day.
Okay,
The
cool.
more the better. I usually get clients to do about 15 minutes a day. And that's what they showed in the research, was if you can do about 15 minutes a day of focused practice, that's where you're going to see a big improvement over those 6 to 8 weeks. And it's built to be something that you try and weave into your daily habits and routines. So in some ways you want to disrupt your normal kind of day so that you remember to do it. But at the same time, leveraging behavioral design, you want to stack some of these new habits in with your day-to-day routines so that it becomes something that you can do sustainably over time.
Cool, man. And honestly, 15 minutes a day, there's no excuse why someone wouldn't be able to do that. So I was asking too, like these are some pretty significant changes for someone to, I think, like to get like an ROI from this. And at 15 minutes a day, like I see some of these guys, and myself included, on TikTok, Instagram for hours, you know what I mean? Like, you can take, as a business owner, 15 minutes a day just to kind of practice some of these toolkits and some of these steps to kind of make this happen. And
I think it becomes a forcing function for them to create more time to work on the business. Because if you are super, super busy, you're in a very reactive state. And this is something that requires a proactive focus. So in a way, it's a practice of being proactive, and you can carry that forward and start to build out, okay, maybe it's instead of 15 minutes of mental fitness, now it's 15 minutes of mental fitness and 15 minutes of strategic planning for the day, or like focusing on like little bits and pieces you can bite off to be more on the business.
100%. Absolutely, man. No, that all sounds great there on that side there, Fyfe. I'm excited too, because you sent me over almost like a case study that you had with a client. Plumbing guy, 20 plus employees, 3 million revenue, starting to try and grow to 6 million before the exit there. Tell me a little bit about this, man. I don't want to spoil too many things before we get into it, man. So I'd love to like hear about your, specific case scenario, working with a guy in the industry and actually like helping him with these problems in the business.
Yeah. So this is a client, Andrew, and I had a ton of fun working with him for close to 2+ years. And he actually initially found me through a podcast, and
Cool.
we did a case study video right before Christmas. And that quote about the marathon, he was like, that's the thing that stuck with me. He's like, I feel like I'm running a marathon every day and I'm just not prepared for it. So when he first came to me, definitely in a state of burnout. And what I found funny working with a lot of, especially guys in the trades, construction, they don't necessarily recognize or want to admit that they're in a state of burnout. They are just in it And when I slow down and talk to them enough, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm a bit burnt out. So a lot of it was just getting him back with his head back above water.
Yeah.
And it can be really simple at the start. It might be just like, let's get you back to the gym three days a week. Just get some of those habits in so that your mental state and ability to focus is better, because a lot of guys are beating themselves up for not being able to focus or get things done fast enough, or they feel extremely overwhelmed, and it's usually a function of a bit of burnout.
Yeah.
So we need to slow down a little bit before we can speed up. So we went through mental fitness right away, and then that opened up a lot of bandwidth for him to be able to focus and see things differently, make better decisions. And then from there, it was, 2 years of ongoing meeting weekly, noticing where he's stuck in the business and outside the business, using a lot of the things from mental fitness. And a lot of it was around how to delegate better, how to build his team. A big chunk of what we focused on was how to actually have him execute
That was the one I wanted to ask you
the
about, man. It's
stuff that he knew he should be executing on. So actually a lot of my clients work with a consultant. They have, or another business coach, and they have their marching orders. Mm-hmm. And even if they don't, they have most guys have a pretty good sense. I use guys, I'm saying this guys and girls, I'm just catching that. But noticing that they generally know what they should be doing, but they're not doing it for some reason. And that might be because of overwhelm. It might be because they just really don't like doing that activity. They find it draining, whatever it is. But I think where I specialize is bridging that I know what to do and getting it done and across the line. And a lot of business owners don't have somebody holding them accountable. Mm-hmm. So meeting with me weekly, they have to show up and be like, Fyfe, I didn't do it again. I didn't move the needle at all. It sucks to have to report that to somebody. And usually very quickly after starting to work with me, they just start getting stuff done faster and faster, and get unstuck faster. And it becomes a bit of a flywheel. It just picks up more speed, and we unlock stuff, and progress breeds motivation. So the 100%. More we can make progress on something, even if it's not huge, it just opens up a huge amount of bandwidth and excitement to just get more stuff done.
100%. I think that's such a key thing, is when I was looking through that case study, and I'm really happy you brought it up, because that execution momentum is where I feel a lot of guys, including myself, sometimes get stuck in a rut. It's you know exactly what you need to get done, but there's so much other bullshit going on where it's very hard to do the things that you know is going to move you forward. There's a million activities in the day that can keep you floating, keep the status quo going, but it's that prioritization, and then executing on that. And then also, as you said, man, having that accountability where you're oh, fuck, man, I didn't do it again. Eventually, within a week or two, they're going to be okay, I'm not going to have another meeting like that, So it's nice to have that accountability that's not just on the onus of yourself, man. So even looking at the results here, I know an exit strategy was big for Andrew here. I'm looking at the hours worked per week, going from 70 plus to 40 to 50, which is an incredible, measurable thing in terms of freeing up some time for himself in the business. That revenue goal of doubling from 3 million to 6 million, the turnover going down. My question to you really is just Andrew must have been pumped up after working with you for 2.5 years, man. How was it at the start compared to, I guess, the end? Was it really cool to kind of see that final transformation, to see him kind of hit that big goal of taking that exit strategy and actually making it a thing?
Yeah. And the exit wasn't on the table at the start. That was something that kind of showed up over time.
Let's go.
And yeah, I'm getting chills right now thinking about it, because I had a good chat with him before Christmas, and it was really fun for us to be able to reflect on where he started and all the roller coaster along the way and where he is today. He was super grateful, and we've become very close, and I'm super excited for what's to come for him. So it's definitely bittersweet because we've concluded our coaching together, but I know it's made a big impact on him and his team, and like that's what I love doing, is being able to like provide tools, help people get to a stage where they're like, okay, like set me free.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting that like going through the sale, he's still in the business, but I've worked with a couple other guys that have sold. It's not what people expect. It's a lot more challenging. It's a huge mental game to go through due diligence and get things across the line. And if anybody is in the process of selling or is thinking about it, like get yourself a coach to work through it, because there's the technical side of what you need to have in place to sell and the due diligence and all that kind of stuff, and lawyers,
SOPs,
all that
everything.
stuff. But the other side is the huge bandwidth it takes up to let go of something that you've built. So there's a lot of people it's not what people expect on the other side, and it's a lot more challenging than people realize. Not to scare somebody away from selling. I think it's a huge milestone, but just know
Absolutely.
that there's more to it than what gets portrayed in media, for sure.
100%, man. No, I think it fires me up too, man. Like you want like a person to work with that's like super cares about your business and your own, personal results. And I feel like it'd be a tough thing to turn over, man. Like when you send a guy almost back into the wilderness and like you've completed that 2.5 years of coaching. It's almost, I imagine, like a bittersweet feeling, you know what I mean? But you're also incredibly, incredibly pumped, but you want to keep, working with this guy to keep hitting those goals there, man. So,
and we might work together in the future. I think that's what's so cool about it, is he might come back and be like, yeah, actually I need to like dive in on this stuff now. So yeah, very grateful for the time that I had with him, and super stoked for the guys I'm working with right now. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah,
fresh, man. So how does, man, go ahead there, Fyfe.
No, I was done. That was it.
Okay, there we are. Well, it's in terms of like wrapping this up. We're coming up to the 30 minutes here, man. Super pumped to have you on, man. I think myself learned a lot there, which is awesome. Like, how does someone get in contact with you, man? Like, I feel for a lot of people, especially leading into the new year or coming out of the new year, or whatever the saying is in terms of we're starting the new year here, who want to really go after their business with full tilt, not even just being in a rut. I think there's so many benefits just from talking to you in terms of like, even if you're not in a place where you think you necessarily need a coach, I feel like even having a chat with you would probably open their eyes a lot in terms of how far they could kind of take their business, man. How can people get in contact with you and kind of get this rolling?
Yeah. Super easy. I'm on LinkedIn. So Fyfe Barraclough. Email is fyfe@fyfebarraclough.com. Those are probably the easiest ways. And yeah, I'm super casual. We'll have a chat. If it feels like a fit, we can go deeper. I usually like, honestly, I ended up spending probably an hour and a half, 2 hours with somebody before they become a client. Like, I want to make sure they're a fit. I want to make sure that they feel like it's a fit. And I like to take my time. I'm not going to like rush into stuff. So I like, even if somebody's just curious and they're like, I don't know if it's right now, or like right for me right now, like, always happy to chat with somebody.
Awesome, man. Well, appreciate you, Fyfe, coming down and chatting, man. This was a sweet session here. Different than what we usually do, man, but I think this was awesome to kind of get a nice little mix up in here. For everyone watching here, I'm going to put all of that description and details in terms of contacting him in the bottom of the video. Again, thank you so much, man. If any of you guys are thinking again of kind of taking your business to the next level in 2025, I've now chatted with Fyfe a couple times, man. I think he would be an awesome tool and asset to your business here. So again, thank you, Fyfe. For everyone watching, appreciate you tuning in, and we will catch you next time on the next episode of Tech in 30.
Thanks so much.
Hey, there we go. Beauty, man.